Hey yo, what's up? My name is PooCluster, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the next update to this game, Sticky. Now, I know it's been an extremely long time since the last time I've actually updated this game or showed an update to this game on YouTube, but here we are now. I'm sorry for taking an extremely long break, but I really just needed to focus on school for the time being. It was my last year of high school. I was a senior and now I graduated. However, even though I did take a break, I was still improving my programming skills through my computer science class in high school. At least now I'm a much better programmer and it will actually help me for further development of this game, Sticky. And one of the ways I actually improved the game was when I came back after this long break. I realized that the game was extremely poorly structured and organized in terms of the code. So one of the first things I did was basically completely redo all of the code, or not redo all of the code, but reorganize all of the code. So everything is in proper places and things are just not messy. The code is a lot more clean and so on. For example, the main class went from a whopping 905 lines to what is now only 121 lines of code. The game internally is structurally beautiful now compared to previous versions, even though the game externally still functions the same way. Also, all of the entities that were in the game, I originally used arrays for those, and arrays are basically just collections of data. Now I converted all of those arrays to array lists, and array lists are objects in Java, which basically handles the arrays for you, so you don't have to make all these special functions yourself. Also, I changed all the level names to make them all numerically based, and this just makes it easier to go through each level in terms of the code. So, before we open this, I want to say one more thing. I also accidentally voided the clouds in the rendering process in the previous update. Clouds were always there, it's just that they were never being drawn, so it looked like they weren't there. Also, clouds now deal with their own positioning within each level, and this is great because now whenever I create a level in the future, I no longer have to deal with clouds. Alright, now that we open the game, one of the first things you'll notice is the music. So as you can see, that's a little bit different. Well, it's actually a lot different. It's a completely different song than the original song that was in the game. Now that song is still in the game, but it is in a different part of the game. And this is where I'm going to talk about game state management. So I made a class and it's called Game State Management or Game State Manager, and it introduces the idea of different game states in the game. So right now we are currently in the title screen state. You can see there's a main menu. Usually any game, when you're in the title screen, you have a main menu. And then there's also a map level selection state, and I'll show you that now. So here's the map level selection state. Also notice the new music in this state, and basically the music does help to distinguish the different states and what current state that you are in. At the same time, it just sounds nice. Also, shout out to my friend, his name is AJ. He made all of this music, new music for me. He really wanted to do it, and he's actually like a music prodigy to me. Yeah, go AJ. So here's the map level selection state, and it's a new part of the game design that helps the player actually visualize the progress of the game. So not only are you going through the levels now, you can actually see where you physically are on the map and how much you have progressed. All the red squares show all the levels you haven't completed, and all these dark brown paths show the paths you cannot cross yet until you complete the level. Once you do complete the level, this will turn blue, or the red squares will turn blue. So now we can press enter, or we can even click this to select the level. And once we click this, we are now at the level state. So currently there are only 3 states to the game state manager, but I could add more if necessary. So this is the state of the game that basically every other version of this game had. It has the same music, and it basically has the ability to play through a level. Now it says press escape. So we pressed escape, and now this menu has popped up. I redid the menu completely also, along with organizing the code, because I noticed that the menu, it was just garbage in terms of how it was coded, so I just redid it. I made a button class, and basically each of these buttons right here, these are little buttons that are then stored within this menu object in the game. The button class reduces hard coding and it makes the menu more modular. The buttons can be anywhere on the screen now rather than just limited to this side. And one button unit can also have multiple outlines for boxing the text. So you can see this is one box. If we go to settings, if we hover over on, it will only box on, and if we hover over off, it will only box off, and it works for everything. This is completely different from before, because before it just used to box the entire button, and now it just boxes on or off. This is extremely helpful because now you actually know what you're clicking. You've probably noticed that the menu is now equivalent to pause, except for in the title screen state. I just realized that it really wasn't efficient to have both a pause button and a menu button to be two different things, so I just made them one thing. So whenever you open up the menu, the game is paused. I just like the idea of having a menu be open while the game is running in the background, and to compromise for that, I actually just made that in the title screen state. So if you didn't notice, in the title screen state, you can still move around even though there's a menu here, and I just like that because it seems aesthetic. Other than that, it will pause when the menu is open. Now let's go into the settings, and then remember this, controls. Controls has been here in settings ever since the menu has been added to this game, and it's actually never worked until now. Here it is. If you want to rebind your keys, you can rebind them. For instance, let's say instead of W, you'd rather prefer to use spacebar. So you click on it and then it will start to blink to show that it's waiting for you to input something. And if I put space, then it will see, you can see that space has been registered. And you can also do this for player 2. So you click player 2, and then these are the controls for player 2. So now if I press space, space is now my jump key. If I want to reset it, I can just go here and then W. And then now W is my jump key again. Now, because that this controls feature, this act of changing controls is now a feature in the game, I no longer needed the help text. In the previous versions I had a help text, and now it is actually officially removed from the game. And the help text honestly was just really messy, made the game look unclean, and it dropped the FPS a lot. Also, I got rid of brightness because honestly the brightness feature wasn't all that helpful, and it also dropped the FPS a lot. Oh, also one last thing for the menu is that the menu is different based on the game state. So as you can see, this menu is different from this menu, and this menu is different from this menu. Within the actual level itself, I've added a couple things. First is the score counter. It's basically just a +1, -1, or +2, -2 system. If you gain points, it will tell you. For instance, right here, if we get this coin, there's a +1, which shows that you have gained 1 point. But if you get hurt, then it will show -1, like that. And if you were to kill the flower enemy that comes out of the ground and you get 2 points, then it'll say +2. Next, I also added momentum into the game now. So momentum is only applied to sprinting. The maximum speed is actually faster than the sprinting speed in previous versions of the game. The momentum gets cancelled when you collide with walls. The only way to gain speed through sprinting is when the player is on some surface like this ground or the platform. The player cannot gain speed in the air, but only maintain the speed. When a sprint is let go, the player will slow down until stopped and lose its momentum. So you can see there's a little bit of a slide whenever you're sprinting and then let go of sprint. And the fun thing is that if you wanted to cancel your momentum, you just let go of sprint and then you turn in the opposite direction, let go sprint, and then all of a sudden I'm going the other way. That could be a quick little mechanic in the game, and it can be really useful in the game in future level designs. The energy ball. The speed of the energy ball does get affected by your actual movement. So if you're just standing still, it will go really slow. But if you're moving while you shoot it, it will go faster. And it actually does travel faster. So when you're sprinting, it goes extremely far. See? It goes extremely far. Oh, there's one more thing. It's also dying. So if we die, Let's just die really quick. Okay, so after the dying animation, the music will switch. And this song is basically the same thing as the main Sticky theme, but it utilizes augmentation and is now in a minor key. It's the same key, it's just minor now, for all of you guys who understand music theory. And basically, the purpose of it is just to make you cry every time. Also, when you die, you can see that there's now this menu here for game over. And it doesn't just say game over, so you can now have the option to restart or exit. Okay, so let's go back to this map selection. Let's open up the menu, and then here's single player. And now we can change it to multiplayer, because remember, the previous versions of the game also had multiplayer. It's still in this game. And what's different now is the camera actually focuses between the players rather than on player 1 himself or herself. I just felt that it was a little unfair that the game was giving priority to player 1 instead of both players, because when there are 2 players, you want both players to feel equally prioritized and equally valued in the game itself. And I know that sounds weird, but it's true. In some games, player 2 always feels awful. I didn't want that to happen in my game. Also, this is something that's really cool. Hold on, wait. Let me just complete this level really quick. Okay, now you can see that this tile has turned blue and that this path has opened up. If we open this up in multiplayer mode, okay, this is really cool. So if the players get too far from each other, what will actually happen is split screen. This is actually really cool. I'm pretty sure you guys think it's cool, right? I mean, isn't that cool? Look at that. It's so seamless. It's so pretty. Yeah, that's really nice. So it's basically the rightmost player is always on the right and the leftmost player is always on the left. So if this player were to go on this side, then this player would be on this side. So now the second player is on this side, and then first player is on this side. And they can go the other way around too. So one of the new things about loading and saving in Sticky is that when I load a game, I can save into these 3 different files instead of just one file now. And each of the files are stored with a name. And this one says Mark, this one says AJ, this one's Hannah. And if we load into it, like let's say Hannah's, what it does is it saves which levels you have completed and which levels are available to you. At the same time, it stores your health, your score, and it also saves your controls. So the default controls are WASD, E and Shift, but this one says space for up, control for down, A and D for left and right, E for shooting, and shift for fast. This is different from before, obviously. And I think it's really cool. You can change your controls, but you can also save your controls. Let's say we loaded into Mark's game, right? And then we try to save over AJ's file, it's gonna ask us to override. And if you click override, it's gonna override AJ's file. So if you see, now it says Mark and Mark. If we were to click new game, you entered this new game state without a name yet. So if you save game, let's click this one, it's also going to ask to override because it doesn't know your name yet. And if you click yes, then it will ask you for a name. And if you click name, it will await until you put in a name. So let's put AJ back into it. And then after you're finished typing in the name, you just press enter, and then now it is saved. If we click on Hannah, obviously it's going to ask us to override because Hannah does not match our current name, which is AJ. And then when you click quit, it closes the game. So, I know that was a fairly lengthy video, but that's the entire update. That's everything that's been added ever since the last time I've updated this game. It's one of the biggest updates I've ever done, and it obviously shows because of how long it took to get this update out. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. The download for this version of the game will be in the Dropbox that I'll put in the description below. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day, bros.